Apple is going to be using Google Gemini inside Siri. So Apple and Google are teaming up. Huge news. We're looking at something that just released, Cowork, Claude code for non-technical people. Bad news for companies like Manus. Fantastic news if you want to have access to the power of Claude code, but the whole thing terrifies you, which is absolutely reasonable. And then I'm going to be looking at a little video that I just saw, which is about how can you actually get ready for artificial intelligence? What can you do for your life? How can you take control of your future, whatever AI is going to bring? And I'm going to run through some notes that Dave Shapiro brings up, because I think there's some good stuff there. Let's hop in. Hey, Marcin, how are you doing? Any news for Perplexity? Specifically, what do you mean, Kent? If you tell me the specifics, but no, I haven't seen anything about Perplexity recently. Honestly, Perplexity are a weird one. I think they were a really valuable company and a really valuable product 2 years ago when the other AI models did not have the capability to search the internet. Perplexity was really useful there because it had the ability to not only find the sources, but interweave them into the answer. So you knew that whatever answer you were getting from Perplexity would be well sourced, it would have citations, you could actually trust it. The other AI models, so Claude, Gemini, and ChatGPT, basically added that over the last couple of years, GPT-4 in particular, made sure that search was foremost, like it was in all of your responses. So Perplexity is a weird one. I don't see how they fit into the market anymore. I used to use them a lot. I don't personally use them at all anymore. But if you have a specific question about Perplexity, I'll see if I can answer it. Let's hop in. The big news, huge news, is this from Google. Joint statement. Apple and Google. Even that beginning of that sentence is mind-blowing. These are competitors. Two of the largest tech companies on earth, and they should be going head-to-head at all things. Apple run the iOS ecosystem, iPhones. Google run the Android ecosystem. They are very separate ecosystems now coming together. Apple and Google have entered into a multi-year collaboration under which the next generation of Apple Foundation models will be based on Google's Gemini models. So the next generation of our foundation models, the models that we, Apple, are building, will actually be Google. These models will help power future Apple intelligence features, including a more personalized Siri coming this year. The rumor is that version of Siri is coming in March. We'll see. After careful evaluation, Apple determined that Google's AI technology provides the most capable foundation for Apple Foundation models and is excited about the innovative experiences it will unlock for users. Apple Intelligence will continue to run on Apple devices and private cloud compute, maintaining privacy standards. Steve Jobs would be rolling in his grave. This is an absolute affront to everything that Apple have stand for. It's been a closed ecosystem focusing on quality, building the best software and hardware within this walled garden. They've always had all elements of their ecosystem have been built by Apple. No more. They are allowing Google in, and not just as a supplementary piece of technology, but as the foundation of their AI models. For the last couple of years, a lot of Apple fans, I'm including myself, I'm recording this on an Apple Mac Mini. I have my iPhone 17. I have an iPad over there. I am a Mac fan. A lot of people have been saying, just you wait. Apple are working on something big. They're waiting until the market matures and then they're going to come out with the best version. They did this before. So for things like the iPod was not the first MP3 player. There were terrible things like the Creative Labs, I forget what it's called, and Microsoft Zune, and a whole bunch of other MP3 players out in the market. Apple waited and then brought out the best version. Arguably, they did that with the phone as well. They were not the first smartphone, but then came out with the iPhone and blew the market up. Apple fans have been saying, this is what they're doing. They are waiting. I was always suspicious of this because it's hard to develop your own foundation level AI model in private, especially for a public company. We would expect to see their data center costs, investment into GPUs, electricity and data centers ramp through the roof. We did not see that. They also released a few AI products which were terrible. Apple Intelligence was not good. They have the simultaneous translation AirPod Pros, which I've used once, does not work. Terrible experience. They have the memojis or emojis you can generate with AI. Lackluster, not exciting. This is the final nail in the coffin. Even if you are the biggest Apple fan, it's hard to say they're working on something in secret. They do not have anything. They have missed the boat and they have messed up when it comes to artificial intelligence. And now they're bringing in outside help from Google, saying to Google, here are the keys to the kingdom, help us fix this mess. This is an embarrassment for Apple, an embarrassment. Who's the head of Siri? Siri has been around for 13 or 14 years. This person has been collecting tens of millions in salary and doing nothing. At the end of the process saying, Google, you come and fix it. If they're keeping their job, I would be very surprised. This is huge news, absolutely massive. It's good if you are a consumer because it means that Apple will finally have a decent artificial intelligence. And they make some good points at the end here. Apple Intelligence will continue to run on device, so it's going to run on your telephone. That gives you privacy and potentially speed, if they manage to get these working well, which you don't have if you're sending it back and forward to a server. So that's cool. And they're going to do it through private cloud compute. Some compute will be done privately on their servers while maintaining privacy standards. They're saying, we've always given you security, we've always protected your privacy, and we're going to continue to do that with your AI models. The question is, do people care? Do people really care that they're going to get a more secure, a more private model? The fact that ChatGPT has 900 million users, it's pushing on 1 billion users, it's one of the fastest growing tech adoption of all time, suggests that no, people do not actually care that much. So I think Apple focusing on this privacy angle is going to appeal to a small minority of people, and they're going to be really excited about this. And the other billions of people out there will not give, I was about to swear, they will not give a flying fiddlestick about this. And also time will tell whether the model implementation will be good, because we've seen this happen before. We've seen Microsoft Copilot, for example, is built on OpenAI's ChatGPT, but it is not good. They have added so many constraints, added so many guardrails that they've managed to neuter ChatGPT. So all the organizations that I know that use Copilot, a lot of the time their staff members will also use an unfettered version of ChatGPT on the side. We might have something similar where we have Gemini sitting at the base foundation of the Apple models, the Apple models not being as good as just using Gemini itself. Time will tell, but this is huge news, absolutely massive. And yeah, Steve Jobs would be, here we go. I do wonder what Steve would have had to say about going into partnership with Google. They're sourcing the software from a major competitor. It goes against everything he stood for. Yeah, I agree. He would be absolutely furious, and with good reason. I'm going to add this breakdown into the newsletter, so make sure you're signed up. It's a free newsletter. You can find the link in the bio. There's a detailed breakdown by Max Weinbach about what Gemini powering Siri means. What's that deployment going to look like? Splitting up into Gemini technology as a foundation for Apple models in the same way that ChatGPT is the foundation of Microsoft Copilot. What does that mean? Siri and Apple Intelligence Architecture, private cloud and inference silicon. The third one is inference silicon on a local device, edge artificial intelligence, and inside the private cloud that's going to give you privacy. He goes into detail about the engineering. It's a bit heavy for me to cover on the live, so I'm going to give you the link in the newsletter. Okay, I'm hopping over to some questions. How are you doing, Marcin? What time is it? It must be late over there. How was CES? I was talking to Shen, who just got back from CES. She said it was absolutely wild. Smiley face says, Apple is losing another big bite. I love that. Yes. Yeah, Apple, Microsoft and Amazon will lose the AI battle. So in their defense, Amazon are doing some really cool stuff with AI. It's just not consumer facing. They don't really care about building artificial intelligence for consumers. What they're doing is building AI for backend, AWS, Amazon Web Services, and their own internal systems. So they have actually got some models and they're doing some decent stuff. They just don't care about the B2C market. So we never see it visibly, but they are, I would say, ahead of Microsoft and Apple in what they're doing. So they are doing stuff. It's just very narrow and focused, which I don't think is a bad idea. Apple and Microsoft, though, as I said, defending Apple over the years and saying, oh, they're preparing something big. That's been the kind of line that the Apple fanboys have had for years. We can now see that's not the case. They have nothing. So they had all this secrecy, and this secrecy allowed us to think that they were working on something big. They're not. They have nothing. It's embarrassing. It really is embarrassing for them. And Microsoft are interesting with artificial intelligence because they talk a big game. They're talking about how AI is going to replace everything, and they've reorganized their product line and their organization around artificial intelligence. So let me find the Copilot. There's a fascinating chart. Let me see if I can get it. which shows how their products are all now centered around, this is it, but not a good chart, all centered around Copilot, artificial intelligence in the middle. Here it is. This is a great idea. Oh, can't get it. Pull this up. Yeah, here we go. So Microsoft talk a big game about artificial intelligence in that AI is going to become the core of their whole product offering. So this is the chart that went around. We have in the middle Microsoft Copilot, and then it's surrounded by operating systems, developer tools, business applications, modern work, data and AI, browser, all of their many tens, if not hundreds of products around this hub, which is Microsoft Copilot in the middle. The problem is Microsoft Copilot as an AI is not very good. It is built on GPT 5.2, but whatever layers they've added on have neutered it. It's not a very good AI, not as good as using ChatGPT. If you go on the leaderboards, it will not show up. They are not a frontier lab. They have their own AI called Mai, which is not released. It's an in-house model. They began public testing on LM Arena back in August. We haven't heard anything about it since then. It tested fine, but now it's out of date and we haven't had anything since. So in-house wise, nothing really happening. And therefore they are building on ChatGPT, but using a neutered version. Microsoft could do very well, but need to be more aggressive, fully use ChatGPT and stop forcing people to use other AIs. Apple, Microsoft, and Amazon are all, as slightly older companies, more legacy companies, they're in a difficult position now because the new hot tech companies are all in artificial intelligence and the older companies are playing catch up and not doing well. And with this new news from Apple, it looks like Apple have really lost or dropped the ball. The same cannot be said of Google. Google are doing very well. Google have transitioned from the old world of search into the world of artificial intelligence and are so far doing very well. I think in part, a large part, due to buying DeepMind back in 2014, buying Demis Hassabis and his team and having one of the best AI research labs in the world. That was a hell of an acquisition and it didn't cost them very much either. Hey Lyra, how are you doing? Hey Bran. I'm just dunking on Apple, which I feel bad about. I do love Apple, but they're in trouble. Okay, here we go. Is Gemini going to be part of the subscription for Apple? No, I think they'll put it inside of their model. So in the same way that when you get Microsoft Copilot, you don't actually get a ChatGPT subscription, you get a Copilot subscription and you're using Copilot. I think it's going to be similar here where Google's Gemini will be underneath Siri and it's going to be sitting underneath of whatever the foundation models Apple deploy on their telephone are as well. So it will be branded Apple. Most people probably won't know it's Google unless part of this deal is for Google to have powered by Google Gemini, which would be very insulting and clever if Google pulled that off. I would not fault them for trying, but we'll see. No, I don't think you'll get a Gemini subscription. Copilot is awful. Any suggestions when editing in Lovable and something changes? I didn't ask it and it breaks. Welcome to the world of vibe coding. One, make sure you've connected to GitHub. In the top right, you'll see the GitHub icon. Click on that, set up a GitHub account. It's free. Then you can connect to GitHub. GitHub is basically cloud storage for your changes. Every time you change your code, you can save a copy of that into GitHub. So it can create a kind of a trail of all your work, all the versions. Connect to GitHub. Now that will allow you to have versions you can roll back to. If everything goes wrong, any suggestions when editing and something changes? If something breaks, what I like to do is I will I'll show you what that looks like. I will right click inside of my browser where it is running. I'll click inspect and then I'll pull up console. And can you see these red messages here? These are warnings inside the console. I'll copy the console, right click again, click copy console and take that over to Lovable and say, hey, this is what's happening. That allows me to provide Lovable with a diagnosis of what the problem is. Because if we just say to our vibe coding tools, oh, it's not working or it's a bit broken, that doesn't give enough context. We need to use the console to grab the error messages. These error messages are caused by ad block blocking some tracking. So that's what it is. It's not my site is totally broken. So take that information over to Lovable and ask it to fix it. That's the basic way. The slightly more advanced way, if it is a more complicated problem, is you take that information, you also explain what it is you're seeing, what looks broken, You can take screenshots and give the screenshots to Lovable or your vibe coding tool as well and say, this is what's going on. Instead of saying fix it, you say, can you diagnose 3 different issues? What could be causing this problem? And what that's going to do is basically force the vibe coding tool to take its time. Most vibe coding tools, once they think they have a solution, will rush in and try to fix it. All we're doing is slowing it down. We're saying, hey, it's broken. This is what I'm seeing. This is some information to help diagnose it. Give me 3 possibilities for what you think this could be. That will allow us to work with the tool and diagnose the issue. And then say, okay, can you go ahead and try number 2? Can you go ahead and try number 1? Because the problem is, and you've probably seen this in Lovable and all vibe coding tools, is sometimes we can end in this loop of bug busting where you fix a bug, something else pops up, it breaks something else, and then you just spend all of your time chasing bugs. It's frustrating. We need to slow it down, plan with the tool, and work through piece by piece. And that comes from working with these tools more. You learn what kind of things they can do really easily and what things are going to trip them up and therefore they need slowing down on. The other thing is you may, and I say this as somebody who loves Lovable, but you may reach a point where Lovable is not powerful enough. Then you should look at Claude Code. I'm going to talk about Claude Code in a minute because Claude Code is the best vibe coding tool out there. I think many people can test that. In fact, Claude Code Anthropic just cut off the access of Claude Code to the XAI team, the people who are building Grok, because the people building Grok are using Claude Code to build Grok. They're using their competitor's tool, which is a bit awkward, considering Elon Musk said that Grok is the best coding agent. It's not. Your team are using Claude Code, so it's very good. So you might want to look at moving to Claude Code from Lovable if you need a bit more power. Once I moved to Claude Code, rarely use other coding tools now because Claude Code can just rip through problems so quickly. Lovable is the best place to start. Claude Code, the Claude Code install page, it always makes me laugh. Is this one? Getting started. No, they got rid of it. Set up Claude Code. Oh, they've changed the page. No, here it is. This is the easy way to set it up. Just get this command, curl-fssl https claude.ai install.sh pipe bash. Just copy that into your terminal and you'll be done. If you've never coded before, you're looking at this, what are you talking about? This brings us to our next topic. They released something called Claude Cowork about 9 hours ago. Claude Code is the most powerful agentic tool for coding, but for more than that. So I personally use it to help me with marketing material, for example. If I need to put together a sales page, I work with Claude Code, not just for the actual code stuff, but for brainstorming, for structuring the project, for creating variations, for setting up a testing schedule. I use it for a wide range of things. I know people use it for creative writing because, again, you can create a structured project and you can have it help you organize chapters. It's an incredibly powerful tool. The fact that this was the front page for Claude Code, that unsurprisingly put a lot of people off. Even the fact that it's called Claude Code and it has the word code in it, very reasonably makes people believe, oh, this is only for technical people, this is only for coders. That has changed because as of 9 hours ago, they've introduced Cowork, Claude Code for the rest of your work. Now, kudos to Anthropic for getting rid of the word code. They're just calling it Cowork. So Cowork lets you complete non-technical tasks, much how developers use Claude Code. So you can switch from chat into Cowork mode and it can help with any tasks. Let me see if I've got it. I don't think I have yet, which might be because I'm in the EU. I'm not seeing it. I'm currently in the EU, so there might be a delay. I'll try with a VPN later, but I can't use the VPN while live streaming because it slows down the bandwidth. In Cowork, you give Claude access to a folder on your computer. Important, don't give it access to your whole computer. Claude can read, edit, and create files in that folder. Try it to create a spreadsheet from a pile of screenshots or a draft from scattered notes. Once you set a task, Claude makes a plan and completes it. This is why Claude Code is amazing. You can say, this is what I want to do, and it will help you structure out a plan. It will take notes on its own plan and add them to something called a markdown file, basically a little instruction manual that it writes for itself, and then it will work steadily through the task. Very cool, very cool. Claude will ask before taking significant action so you can course correct it. Claude can use your existing connectors. So connectors are things like you can link it to Google Docs. So if you want it to create or pull information, you can pair Cowork with Claude in Chrome for tasks that need browser access. So you could say to Cowork, hey, I want you to go to this website, pull all of these potential leads from this list, and then take all of that information, put it into a Google Doc. It'll work in the background doing that for you. Extremely cool. Cowork is available as a research preview for Claude Mac subscribers in the Mac OS app. Click on Cowork in the sidebar. So I've got Macs. Oops, daisy. I do have Macs, and I do have the app. No, I'm not seeing it yet. There might be a delay in the EU, which is annoying because I want to play with it. Let's see if I need to turn it on. Sorry, you can't see any of this. Claude Code, connectors, capabilities. No, I don't see it yet. As soon as I do, I will demo it and preview it. But now it is not there. This is incredibly exciting because Claude Code is very powerful. You've probably seen people gushing about it online, but it's not accessible to everybody because it's a bit too technical. I heard Claude slash usage limits. Yeah, it's a weird one. Claude have been cutting off other applications that use Claude Code. Any third parties that allow you to access Claude Code, they've been pushing back on that. They also have been blocking certain organizations like XAI, as I mentioned, from using Claude Code. This stuff was all in their terms of services before. It's just now they're choosing to actually enforce it because they're in a position of power. In terms of usage, I would say the max plan, that's one I'm on, it's not cheap. It's $200 a month, which is not cheap, and I understand that's out of a lot of people's price range. That's a lot of money. I've never had usage limits with it. On the $20 a month plan, you will hit the usage limits like that, like very fast, especially if you use Opus 4.5. Yes, in part it's to get you to upgrade to $200 a month, which again is not cheap, but that is the reality of using Claude Code basically, it is going to cost you $200 a month basically. Interestingly though, the $200 plan gets you more usage than you're using the API. People worked out if you're using the API, it would cost you $1,000 or so. They are subsidizing their $200 a month and making it more accessible. But yes, once again, that is not accessible to the majority of people. So there will still be limits inside of Cowork. If you use it too much and you're on the $20 a month plan, then you're just going to hit those limits very quickly. And right now it looks like it's only available on the max plan. If you're on another plan, join the waitlist for future access. Usage limitations will be an issue at that point as well. Brand says, trying to solve for a year, Claude Opus did it in an hour. Remember that principal engineer said it solved one of their agent issues they'd been trying to solve for a year. It wasn't just a principal engineer, that was a principal engineer at Google. Let me find her name. Jana, there she is. She put out a tweet, and this is one of the reasons why Claude Code had such a kind of breakthrough at the end of last month. I'm not joking, and this isn't funny. We have been trying to build distributed agent orchestrators at Google since last year. This is Jana Dogan, a principal engineer at Google. There are various options, not everyone is aligned. I gave Claude Code a description of the problem. It generated what we built last year in an hour. Like, Claude Code is that powerful. It's hard to get that across to people who haven't used it before, but as soon as people use it, they're like, oh, okay. She says, it's not perfect, but I'm iterating on it. This is where we are right now. If you're skeptical of coding agents, try it on a domain you're already an expert of. Build something complex from scratch where you can be the judge of the artifact. So it's not just for coding. It's not just for building software and programming. You can use it across any problems you need to break through, and it will be able to do. And Cowork, which came out yesterday, if you're on the max plan, is going to allow non-technical people to do this even more easily. It's a bit of a weird, their positioning's still odd here because it's only available on the max plan, so you have to be spending $200 a month. There's no way you'd be spending $200 a month on an AI unless you're coding or you're doing some kind of highly complex work. At $200 a month, you're probably already in group using Claude Code. So right now, I don't know who this is for. They need to bring it to the $20 a month. They need to bring it to the free tier eventually for this to actually have a seismic change. It's a step in the right direction. This is Nicholas Cole, and I think this is a really good reaction. He says, whenever I see stuff like this, I think about when my wife worked at this huge nonprofit and their training instructions on how to use the internet included, make sure both feet are planted firmly on the ground. I should do that. I'm all scrunched up. Sit upright in your desk chair to not hurt your back. Hold the mouse tight with your hand, don't let it fall. Anyone on this side of the internet watching this stream, interacting with this tweet from Nicholas, thinks we're living in the future. We're in the future. But everybody else is still in the Stone Age. Most companies don't have a single no-code Zapier automation, and most consumers still don't know how to set up a basic filter inside of Gmail. All of this new tech is super exciting, but 99% of companies and people still need help solving way simpler problems, which I think is a very good reality check. Yesterday, I started a new cohort of my AI workshop kit, teaching people how to give AI workshops to businesses. I charge about $2,000 per hour to businesses to teach them how to use AI. And now I license out my material and help other people work that out. If you are interested in this, we've just opened the cohort. The doors are closed now, but there is a free resource. If you come to aiwithkyle.com and you go to courses at the top, you'll be able to find AI Workshop Masterclass here. This has a video overview and then 5 lessons and a bunch of webinars that will be given shortly, walking you through how you can take your expertise, your domain expertise, and your knowledge of artificial intelligence, which, believe me, if you're watching this, it's much higher than 99.99% of people. You will be able to put together a workshop and get paid to teach businesses. You don't need to be an expert in artificial intelligence. You don't need a PhD. You don't need a master's degree in computer science. In fact, that gets in the way of you being able to communicate to normal people, to lay people, why they need to pay attention to artificial intelligence. If you start talking about backpropagation, gradient descent, and neural nets, you're going to lose them. Our job is to help people who need to know about this technology, explain it to them in their language, using stories they understand, using metaphors, and we become the bridge, the translator between their industry and artificial intelligence. There's a huge opportunity in 2026 for the next few years. I'm excited to have started with our new students today. If any of you are on this live, hello, I'll see you in the group. If you're interested, go to aiwithkyle.com, courses, and then scroll down, you'll see the AI Workshop Masterclass. Huge opportunity, and it's connected to what Nicholas Cole is saying. Most people have no idea what is going on, and if you can be the one who brings them up to date, who helps them with this stuff, then you'll do very well moving forward. The other thing about Cowork I wanted to highlight, and again, this is why the world is changing. Cowork was built in 1.5 weeks. The Cowork is the new version of Claude Code for non-technical people. It took 1.5 weeks to build it. If you know anything about software development timelines, this is ludicrous. 1.5 weeks, and Claude Code wrote 100% of the code. Claude Code created a simpler version of itself with human guidance in 1.5 weeks, and Anthropic, a company that is worth billions of dollars, shipped it. This is not some little scrappy startup that just threw together a prototype and kicked it out the door. This is Anthropic. This is the creators of Claude Code. They wrote it in 1.5 weeks using Claude Code, and now it's shipped. The world is changing very quickly. I feel a little bit sorry for. Here are Manus. So Manus are in the middle of signing a deal with Meta for the acquisition of Manus. We don't know the exact amount, but it's in the tens of billions. They're being purchased by Facebook. However, this Cowork looks an awful lot like Manus. The fact that it can work as an agentic system to help you with your work, to help with research, take control of your computer, write files, that is very much an agentic tool like Manus is. But Claude Code and Anthropic have just built it in 1.5 weeks and shipped it. The acquisition of Manus for $50 billion, $40 billion, $30 billion, however much seems less attractive when something like this could be made in 1.5 weeks. Alongside of that, Beijing is also sniffing around the Meta Manus deal. This is fascinating. Manus is founded in China, headquartered in Singapore for regulatory reasons, but it was primarily a Chinese company. And as a result of this, now Beijing, the government of China, are investigating the sale of Manus to Meta. This is the first time this has really happened, so it signals a tightening of the control of AI in China. Up until now, things like DeepSeek, stuff like that have been released freely. It's all open source, go nuts and look what we're building. This is now a company which is being sold to an American company, so the regulators are getting involved. Do we want to keep this talent in the country? Do we not want to give America a leg up by allowing the sale? Another wrinkle in the deal. I think the Manus is an amazing product. The Manus team is great. I think they're going to be having a rough week this week with the release of Claude Code Cowork and regulatory oversight from Beijing. Best of luck to them. They've built a cool product. Lyra says, I've spent that on Lovable this month. Yeah, $200. This is in reference to me saying Claude Code is $200 a month if you get the max plan, which is a lot of money. But these vibe coding tools, they also start to stack up over time. They're fantastic for getting started, and you've done the right thing starting there. At a certain point, you might find barriers, and it's time to go to the next level, and that's part of the process. David Shapiro, Liberate Humanity from Drudgery, just put out a new video and a written outline. I want to cover it quickly because I think there's some good salient points made here. Watch the full video, I'll put it in the newsletter as well, but I'm going to quickly cover it. The first one, he's talking about high agency moves. So what can you do that is in your control, and you take full responsibility for yourself in order to get ready for what is coming with artificial intelligence, and specifically against artificial intelligence job loss? What can you do? A lot of us are sitting on our hands, and that is a dangerous position. Dave Shapiro goes through various options. Number one, high agency move is leave your country or leave your city. So imagine you have learned you are never going to work again, at least not a corporate job. Where would you want to live? Really important question. So let's jump ahead and assume that jobs are not going to exist in 10 years from now, and certainly not high-paying corporate jobs. If you're in one of those jobs right now, you might be feeling very comfortable, but what if that's taken away? Where would you want to live in the world? Ask yourself these 4 questions. Cultural and values alignment, where do I fit in? Temperature and climate, where is the weather best for me? Lifestyle affordances and pace of life, live fast or slow, loud or quiet? Cost of living, can I lower my cost of living? Right now I'm in Cyprus. I picked this off the tree yesterday. Like, there are oranges on the trees. It is not sunny today. It's actually raining, but it is one of 40 days a year it rains in Cyprus, which is very unusual. And I'm going to be moving here later in the year. This is not an option for everyone. Not everyone can leave and go to another country. But if that is an option for you, it's worth considering, because we're about to enter a time of mass chaos. If you can carve out a life in a place where it's cheaper to live, where it's not all about money, you are able to enjoy nature, you're able to enjoy being outside, you are able to slow down and not worry so much about making money all the time, then it might be time to look into a change. For me, moving from London to Cyprus means that I can move from basically surviving to being able to actually sock away money and do very well. This is not to say that I don't make a lot of money I'm not going to talk about cash, I'm British, but in London, it's so expensive that even if you are in the top couple of percentage of earners, it's quite difficult to carve out a good life for yourself. Not to mention, it's dark, it's cold, it's wet, it's a bit grim for most of winter. For me, making this move makes a lot of sense, and I would highly suggest having a think about it. Based on these questions that David Shapiro flags, this doesn't necessarily mean leaving your country. It could be moving to a different city. It could be moving somewhere else in your country as well. But it is worth considering based on the fact that jobs and incomes as we know them may not be the same a few years from now. Second, so David Shapiro says the second thing you need to be doing to get ready for AI and AI job loss is making good investments. Save money, put it away. However much you make, save. Always live below your means. If you make 80K, act like you make 60K and pocket the difference. If you make 200K, act like you make 120K and save the difference. So basically building a buffer. We do not know what's going to be happening with artificial intelligence. We assume it's going to be rough. I think that's a fair assumption. We assume job loss, we assume there's going to be a bit of chaos. So any assets, any cash, any income generating assets that you have are going to be useful. It's going to be a buffer against whatever's happening, because regardless of how chaotic it is, if you have a bit of meat on the bone, you're going to be in a better position to cushion against whatever happens. Classic assets are stocks, bonds, rental properties. I personally prefer ETFs for their accessibility and management. My father-in-law prefers rental properties. The common one is index funds. We're probably going to see a market correction. So if you do get into stocks or an index fund right now or ETFs, again, this is not financial advice, it's probably going to take a beating in the next 10 years. Considering the amount of circular money being put into the American economy in particular is not unlikely. There's a huge amount of speculation, hype around artificial intelligence. Not all of it's going to pay off. We don't know if a company like OpenAI will make the revenues required to justify the investments. I think it will have some kind of correction. It could be a crash, it could be a recession, but there'll be something messy. So if you have your money tied up in stocks, it could be messy. You need to hold on to them for a long time and not panic. The third thing that David Shapiro says is going to get you ready for a world of AI job loss. Think about remaining jobs. What's worthwhile now so you can get ready for what's happening. So he says there's a few categories of jobs that will stick around. Work towards getting one. One, the attention economy, content creator. I'm biased, but I highly agree. Just be warned, this is as much about luck as it is hard work. The attention economy is winners take most, and that is just a fact. Anyone who says otherwise is selling something, 100%. So becoming a content creator is not the same as becoming an influencer. An influencer makes money primarily from the attention that they bring into themselves. For example, if I was an influencer, I'd be doing a lot of sponsored content. When people ask me they want to sponsor a video, the rate would be a couple of $1,000s for shooting a video. They also make money from ad revenue on the platform. So when their videos get showed on YouTube, on TikTok, on Instagram, etc., they get a small cut of the advertising. That's a bit different to becoming a content creator. A content creator uses attention to drive a business. That's what David Shapiro is talking about. Use attention to gain distribution, to be able to build products, to be able to sell to people. You use that attention, you parlay it into an actual business. So you don't make money directly off the views, you don't make money directly off the sponsorships, but you make money off a back-end business, and you use content creation, the attention economy, to push leads into your business. That's why every time I say I have a free course, you should grab it. It's on my courses page. If you come here and that is useful, you might want to sign up to the newsletter. If you're signed up, you'll see some offers. That's how I drive my business. That is a content creator. If you are interested, I've got a whole accelerator which helps you do this. This is me using content to drive sales. The Authority Accelerator is a product that I created which is helping people get into content creation. So basically picking up your camera and talking about your expertise. But this is specifically about becoming somebody who talks about artificial intelligence for your particular niche. So if you are a teacher, talk about AI and how it affects teachers. If you're a social worker, talk about how AI affects social workers. There's a lot of areas that can be carved out. I'll put the link in the newsletter if you want that. The next remaining job, according to David Shapiro, is in the experience economy. So a lot of jobs are going to be removed, a lot of things automated, but if you lean into experiences, you might do well in the world of artificial intelligence. Selling real-life experience from bartending to massage to tours, grounded, in-person, concrete experiences. Humans will prefer human presence until robots are indistinguishable. I agree with this. We need to lean into doing what is purely human, meeting face-to-face, public speaking, events, for example. That is going to be secure against artificial intelligence because for now, that cannot be replicated. I'm looking to put together a retreat, getting a bunch of people together in Cyprus, renting a villa and building AI businesses over a week, and basically like a hackathon where everybody builds stuff, everybody presents, and then you leave the week or 5 days or however long it's going to be with a prototype for business. So again, that's an experience where you meet up with other people who are building, you work with experts, people who are doing this kind of stuff. It'll be a mix of lessons, building, socializing, networking, etc., but in a nice hot country at the same time. I think stuff like that's going to become more and more valuable as AI takes the rest of the jobs from us. Dave Shapiro says the third thing you can do to protect your job is get into the authenticity economy. This is about trust, reputation, and skin in the game. Stake your output to your name, face, voice, and reputation. This one actually connects to the attention economy. It is the concept of a building in public and a personal brand. If you are building a company, don't hide behind a logo. Don't be faceless because AI is going to take all of that. AI is going to demolish anything that is faceless because it can replicate and build a company in moments and it can dominate that space. So instead, you need to get your face. It's skin in the game. If you've got a spot, doesn't matter. You're going to get on camera. You are the face of the business. This is why I'm talking to you live. This is why these videos go online, is because you are connecting with me. You're not connecting with a brand. If you run a business and you're trying to make it faceless, stop. Get on camera. It's going to be important because human-to-human connection is going to become more valuable moving forward, and anything else that's not authentic, anything else that is not raw like this will be utterly destroyed by artificial intelligence because of the speed of iteration in that space. The fourth type of job that Dave Shapiro says is safe from artificial intelligence is the meaning economy. This boils down to priests and philosophers. Whatever your medium is, books, internet, in person, what you're doing is helping people make sense of the world and their life. So this is a bit cynical, but there's going to be a lot of people who are lost in the next couple of years because of artificial intelligence taking jobs. A lot of people connect their job to their sense of self, especially in professions like doctors, lawyers, politicians, whatever it is. The people in those professions see themselves as, I am a doctor, I am a lawyer. If that gets taken from them, so does the social capital, influence, reputation connected to that. We see this when people retire, especially from professions. When they retire, suddenly they're not important. And that can have a massive impact on somebody's social, on their psychological welfare, because they've had something ripped from them. This happens at retirement, but we're probably going to see this happening with artificial intelligence a lot, where people are just going to suddenly have their identity stolen away from them. We're seeing this with coders right now. So people who code and program, and they've spent decades building the skill, and they're watching Claude code come in and replicate it and allow lay people, allow people who haven't spent decades building this skill to perform at a similar level. That's really upsetting. Psychologically, that is devastating, and that's why people will absolutely fight this, as they should. They will push back against anything and deny anything because they're going through the stages of grief. If you can help people with that transition, if you are a coach, if you educate, if you write books, if you help people with moving from what they were to what they will be, then you're going to have a good, secure job. So all of these are based on the fact that AI is going to take a lot from us. It's working out where we carve out our space. These are the 4 areas David Shapiro highlighted. I will put the full video and the guide inside of the newsletter, and he goes on for a few more, but I think we've covered the main things. You can go through it in full as well as watch the video. This is why I've built the Get Ready in 5 Days AI Readiness course. My goal is to get 1 million people AI ready by 2030. I want people not to be surprised when this creeps up on them, but instead to be ready for whatever is going to happen. So I built this free challenge. If you fancy it, it's on aiwithkyle.com and it's on the front page. You can join up there, totally free. Okay, I think I've been blabbing for an hour. I have, goodness me. 1 second, I need to tell TikTok I'm still alive. It has this proof of life thing. There we go, I need to do a capture. I should build an AI to do the capture for me. There we go. Otherwise I get kicked off. Greek islands for me. So Danny, are you in the Greek islands? The Greek islands are very nice. I've been learning to sail in London, in the Docklands, in a wet dock from the 19th century. Now I can continue in Cyprus, which I think would be nicer than a muddy dock in London. Italy for me, plans already in motion. Wonderful. It's, everyone's heading to the Mediterranean. It's not a bad place to be. 2,000 years ago, it was the seat of civilization. Maybe we're returning to our roots, back to Greece, back to Italy. Hi, I'm Claire from New York City. Enjoy watching you. Thank you, Claire. I used to live in New York. I was in the West Village for a year, and then over in Brooklyn, Fort Greene for 2 or 3 years. And I was at NYU Stern doing my MBA. I want to learn how to use AI, not just ChatGPT, says Vanessa. A couple of things you can do. If you come to aiwithkyle.com, my website, to get started, there's this free Get AI Ready in 5 Days challenge on the front page, but there's also a bunch of free courses in here. I had an email the other day, somebody saying, I want to learn about AI, but it's also expensive. And we were like, there's loads of free resources. If you come to aiwithkyle.com/courses, there's a whole 10-week, this is free, you don't even need an email. There's a whole 10-week course here about how to build a business using artificial intelligence, if that's something you're interested in. So go from AI curious to AI confident and build something. There is the AI Workshop Masterclass. So this is how you combine your AI knowledge with your industry and domain experience, and you start to educate companies about how to use AI. You can do really well. You can charge a couple of $1,000s per hour for that. And then there's a bunch of other courses in here. And then if you click on catalog, I have about 100 playbooks. And each of these are not just, click on this one, how to copy your brand voice in AI. These are detailed. Each of these parts is a couple of 1,000 words. So there's a huge amount of content on AI with Kyle. I've also built over the weekend, because I got bored, something called the AI Canon. So if you go to the top of AI with Kyle.com, AI Canon is here. This is the fundamentals of artificial intelligence from a technical point of view. If you do want to learn how does this stuff work, then it is all here. So we have Karpathy's Software 2.0. I've got Stephen Wolfram's What is ChatGPT Doing? Markovitz talking about how transformers work, and then the main papers. Attention is all you need. The 2014 paper, which broke open modern AI through the transformer architecture. I've also got a bunch of courses, Stanford courses here, reinforcement learning, Karpathy's videos, etc. So that's all available on the AI Canon. I would say this stuff is quite chunky, so it takes some time to work through. But so start definitely with the free challenge here, because that starts with the basics and it builds you up from there. Definitely start there. There is a huge amount of content here, which is why I was so surprised when this guy was like, I can't learn this stuff because it's too expensive. No, information is not the problem anymore. Oh, someone else from Fort Greene. Lovely. I lived there 10 years ago, but I really love Fort Greene. So we've got a few people from New York. Hey, Kyle, you're doing amazing work. I follow you and Nate. Love your style. Funniest story. I was in Stockholm visiting Lovable. Stockholm, lovely city. But I was walking in the street and I know that guy. When you see somebody and they're not in the place where you expect them to be, so it just takes your brain, you're like, what the hell? And I was in Stockholm, already in the wrong place for me. I walked past Nate B. Jones in the street and I was like, I swear to God, I swear that's Nate B. Jones. Walked past him, didn't say anything. I caught his eye. I have him on WhatsApp, so I texted him. Weird question, are you in Stockholm right now? Yeah. We met up, grabbed a coffee, and Nate is fantastic. If anyone doesn't know Nate B. Jones, I highly recommend you go and follow him. His Substack is, bar none, it is the best Substack out there. Nate B. Jones is just so knowledgeable. He's on TikTok as well, like me, Nate B. Jones, and his analyses of what's going on in AI are just the best. So I 100% recommend going and following him and subscribe to his Substack as well. I was talking to you about you to my brothers and they're amazed you have all this for free. I like writing and creating. One problem is there's too much stuff, like this catalogue here. Loads of good stuff here, but there's 100 playbooks. That's too much. And I know this is a problem that I need to work out, because somebody lands on this page and they're like, what do I do? So I need to work out how to smartly sequence all of this stuff. Oh, hey, Mark, thanks for answering my questions on TikTok Lives and Cohort 6 call. Of course. Won't make Cohort 6 as just closed. Yeah, we started yesterday. 6 months of work. Oh, awesome. Congratulations. I hope Cohort 7 will be in a few months. Yes, it should be. How old is AI? Just looked and it's 70 years old. The term was coined, I want to say 1953 at the Dartmouth conference. Might be 56, but 1950s. The idea of artificial intelligence has been around since basically the idea of pens, basically the idea of computing. So Alan Turing, he put together papers about an engine that could calculate. Very shortly after working out what the architecture of a modern computer would be, he worked out, what if this got so smart that it was indistinguishable from a human brain? He made that leap quickly, even before computers were really a thing. The idea of robots or clay figures with intelligence goes back to the ancient Greeks, if not before. It's always been a fascination of humanity. 1956 at Dartmouth College. What is your website? aiwithkyle.com. Awesome. I'm going to hop off this live and go for a walk while it's still sunny. Mark Crawford, Beanie Man. Yes, Beanie Man is Nate B. Jones. The glasses, the beard, and the beanie. It's very recognizable. Thank you so much. I will be back with another live Wednesday. We'll be looking into the Google Apple deal. Hopefully I'll have access to Claude Cowork by that time as well. And I'll have messed around with it because that's very exciting. And then we'll see what else is going on in the world of AI. I will not be doing a live on Thursday because I'm flying, and Friday I'm not sure yet, but I'll be back Wednesday. Thank you so much, everybody. Make sure you're subscribed to the newsletter if you want to get a summary of everything that we covered today, as well as the video I discussed. I'll give you the full video of it so you can watch it in your own time. And also subscribe on YouTube, where you can get the edited versions of these lives, clips, and shorter segments. Thank you so much, everybody, and I will see you. Cheers.